It's finally time to start firing up the grill. From city to shore, Acme is everything you need to prep for this summer season. Download the Acme app to shop for this season's essentials any way you want. Open the Acme app, clip your deals, then order your items online. An experienced Acme associate will carefully select your groceries, bag your order, and bring it right to your car or deliver right to your door. Download the app or visit acmemarkets.com for program details.
Hi there, I am Adem Kirbas. I am here in Ordu, Turkey. This is another episode of my podcast. This is a cloudy July day in Ordu. I hope you all having fine and that you take care of yourself in the pandemic. Well, today is actually we want to talk about a new topic. However, I want to say a few words about the last episode yesterday where we talked about environmental and spiritualism. I mean, this is indeed a very important topic, spiritualism, and we will talk about this, but I do not think that or it belongs rather to religion, especially if you consider the Greek antiquity. I mean, this is pretty much played in the mythology, in the Greek mythology, that one of the biggest enemies of humanity was the environment, and then this is some sort of portrait by the Titans, and then these Greek gods who look like humans, they win over the Titans, and then they some sort of became the ruler of the world, which actually nothing means, or means simply that humans gain control over nature. This is from that perspective on, it is understandable that nature is always been considered in a way with spirituality, with religion. Many religions have their origin in the nature, in natural spirits and so on. However, we will end it there because this belongs rather in religion, and we will, I don't know for sure, but we will talk about it in a later episode in detail. What I want to talk about today is again another very important issue in the millennial age, which is, I think, very important to understand this technological age we are living in, and this is the LGBTQ community, homosexuality, and this is indeed one of the moments, and everyone talked about it. I mean, what everyone in the last, I would say, decade, many people talk about, kept talking about, was actually should homosexuals being allowed to marry, should gay marriage be legalized, and this was one of the big issues, and the Supreme Court in the US pretty much got rid of it. However, I think it makes sense to talk about this issue again because it is some sort of telling, and the issues of homosexuality and gay rights and LGBTQ rights are indeed very important, not only for the community but as well as in general for humanity, or for society, especially the role of the state, or where and or how far is the state allowed to go, where is the line where we have to draw the line, and so on. And one thing we have to clear right away is that the issue of homosexuality is actually not an issue about homosexuality itself. I mean, the question whether you should legalize homosexual marriages, gay marriages, is not an issue about gay rights and homosexuality or LGBTQ rights. No, it is an issue about freedom. It is an issue about personal freedom. It is an issue about your freedom that is being guaranteed in the Constitution, because you have the freedom for life choices. You can pursue happiness. You can some sort of design your life the way you want it, and live according to this. I mean, this is you're free to express your opinion, plan your life, go ahead with it, and so on. I mean, homosexuality or gay rights then is pretty much secondary because of the fact that your freedom is being guaranteed in in the constitution, so everyone is equal, everyone has the freedom to live, and this makes it pretty much redundant if you then some sort of wanna have even a vote where the gay rights or the gay marriage should be legalized. I think this happened in Ireland. I mean, this was not rightful. It was not rightful in that sense because these people have already equal rights through the constitution as human beings, and what the state there did, or in order to denying these rights, is some sort of a transgression in the personal freedom of anyone or of someone. And this is very important to understand that this is actually at first an issue about one's personal freedom. I mean, of course, in very or in conservative and Republican circles, people oppose. People say that homosexuality should be in a way banned, curtailed, whatever. But these thoughts are rather either religious beliefs, personal beliefs, however, but this has nothing to do with the law. The law is, or has, I mean, it is not the fact. Truth be told, it is not the fact. But the law has to be objective. This means so no one can really interfere in your personal life, and this is in a way interesting, or you would say ambiguous, because very many conservatives and Republicans rightfully say that there should be less state interference, but yet they want the state to interfere in the personal life of someone and then regulate someone's sexuality. I mean, I want to some sort of dwell on this very important issue because state interference is a big issue, and I talked about it many times that I think that the state should interfere in the business, in the economic, to ensure the proper working of capitalism. But this was in the market, and I think this is very important. The state should go into the market, and you can create equality way better in the market than really in society, because in this is what we will talk about it as well. This is money generates equality. This is for effect. Money is a protection. We talked about it many times. No matter what people say, no matter what promises people make, and so on, money saves the day. Money makes you independent. Money is freedom because it enables your freedom. I mean, this was back in the days when you were a free thinker. When you were a free thinker, an artist, whatsoever, you always needed a patron to support you as well, but as well as to some sort of protect you from the law and so on if things would go rough. However, and this is very important, and equality is something you can generate in the market. But, and this is what I always will say, the state should less interfere in people's personal lives. And we will talk about this. But before we go on, I want to talk about some critics feminists brought toward this issue. And this critics is that because of the separation between public life and private life, that women would be some sort of pushed into the private life, and there they have lesser rights. This is the famous pater familias, so that the man, the husband, some sort of determines what a woman is allowed to do, and so on. This is true. I mean, this is beyond doubt. This is true. This was in the past the case. I mean, this is what you can see, for example, in the French Revolution, after the French Revolution, and this already started in the era of Napoleon. The father, the husband, became more rights. I mean, of course, you have to be aware of one thing, that the French Revolution, in that sense, had was an issue which you have to understand from the circumstances which it was, and this was that there was total anarchy. People in the beginning, they all embraced the French Revolution, and it was really a good thing in the beginning, so some sort of to free people from this feudal system. But nevertheless, this ended in brutal terror, in anarchy. You never knew whether you were the next, and this was the reason that in the Napoleonic age people wanted to bring in structure. This was not that a conservative element won. No, this got even a lot of support from the people. Napoleon did not just crown himself emperor. No, he got a lot of support because people were so disillusioned with the revolution, with this anarchy, with this bloodshed, that they thought only one man or one monarch, or only the aristocracy can some sort of bring order and peace. And Napoleon, many people say, at least he's better than the Bourbon king who was guillotined, and his brother was then next in line. So you have to understand this from this point of view, so that people then wanted to have more structure against this anarchic terror, because it was terror, it was bloody, so everyone could be the next. And this is when the role of the husband, of the father, was strengthened in the French Revolution, and then only time this was some sort of dissolved. However, I think the separation between public life and private life, it does not apply anymore. It doesn't apply anymore in that sense, because women have more and more equality, and you can of course protect women, and you should protect women for being pushed into the private sphere, and this private sphere, this was another critique of the left, especially in the baby boomers, that this private sphere would some sort of control female sexuality, and this sexual liberalization in the 60s and 70s, with this open display of sexuality, was actually meant to free sexuality, bring it from the private life into the public. However, what I mean with a private sphere is rather some sort of a safe place, and I mean a safe space from the state, from state interference. This is nothing you can some sort of hide for it, but this is rather, we will talk about this, to guarantee your personal freedom, and you can protect women for this. I mean, and it is even protected. We have talked about housewives who get payments. This is in Europe, continental Europe. I think in Great Britain as well. So housewives are get support from the state for raising their children, and you have to be aware of one thing. I mean, of course, your private life is political as well. This is what the left always said, that the private life is political. This is beyond doubt. But one thing we have to talk about it, and where we kept talking about in the past, and this is money. You cannot emancipate a woman from her private life or whatsoever, if she is still dependent on her husband. This is one of the biggest issues. I mean, this always boils down to one thing. Emancipation boils down to one thing, and this is financial emancipation. This is not philosophical whatsoever, and this is what we saw in the World Wars. I mean, during the World Wars, all the men were out fighting, and the women, they would work in the factories, so they started to work there. They gained or became the loans. They have salaries. They got money. This led to the emancipation, and then people or women didn't want to give up their freedoms anymore. So financial emancipation is indeed very, very important, and you will never accomplish any emancipation whatsoever if the woman is still dependent financially on her husband, and the protection of your private life in that sense does not mean that you should be dependent. Or let me rephrase this: one of the main issue why women could be pushed in the private sphere was actually that they were always kept financially dependent. They always had to ask their husband whether they get a job. It was always her husband who got the money and so on. But this is some sort of dissolved. More and more women became independent, and more women should become independent. And but nevertheless, it does not mean that your private life or your privacy and a safe space, what you as a human being need, that you should do away with it. I mean, believe me, and I even speak from my own experiences, especially in Austria, and believe me, and we will talk about this, why having some sort of a secure place, a safe haven, not only in your home. I mean, I think your safe space is rather not in your home, but this is, or at least you could say it is physically, that you do not have to fear for your life and so on. I mean, this is indeed important, and I became as well as a victim of that too. I mean, in Austria, where people, as well as here in Turkey, where people some sort of break into your homes, coming to your homes and take possession of your stuff and so on. I mean, this is indeed important. That you are safe and secure, that you have a safe space, and to be clear of this, I mean, those perpetrators were mostly from the left, so far right. I only saw a few, however, but I think some sort of a safe space. What you need is rather, you have to say in your thinking, and it has to be rather a protection from coercion, from force, from outside. I mean, one thing what is, I think, very, very important to understand why you need less state interference in your life, or where you have to have some sort of a safe space from the state. This is something you can easily imagine. For example, democracy has some great has brought forward some great facts, some great circumstances, and this is that there is a peaceful transition of power. I mean, it happens sometimes where things get bloody and out of the way, but as you saw, some people are indeed very committed to their democracy, so they protect it. However, with every transition of power, especially if you did not vote for the current government and so on, you still need to be protected, because this happens no matter what the state is or the institutions, that they are never objective. Quite the contrary, they are extremely bias. This is something you see, especially when you are being hunted by a political group whatsoever. Then you see that state institutions, I mean, even things like judicial system and so on, they become biased, and they become biased because of the people uh, who who are working there or taking over these ideas. And believe me, this can become really hideous. So rule of law and so on cannot exist, or does not exist. It did not exist in my case. People could do with me whatever they want, and they were not prosecuted. Quite the contrary, even protected. However, but you still, and this means that you could be harassed, and this is happening. Harassed for your political beliefs. You could be harassed for whatever, or your children could be coerced, forced, and so on. Especially, this always goes into to your children, or this always goes after your children, because through state or through those institutions, it is actually pretty much easy to have access to someone's children and so on, especially in a country like Austria. Through schools, some random people can enter schools and whatsoever, and then can do with your children whatsoever, and you need some sort of protection from that. This means that you are that no matter what, that you have need a safe space, because we have to be aware that your freedom of speech is not like, or you should not understand your freedom of speech like, yeah, the state leaves you alone if you want to express yourself, or if you have an opinion, or so or whatever. No, quite the contrary. This is so important. This stands in the Constitution, that the state has to guarantee and ensure your freedom, your individual, your individual expression, and as well as has to guarantee your individual pursuit of happiness. This is very, very important. The state, this is, I think, one of the where the state should actually interfere, and this is how we have to understand this whole construct of interstate interference. This is that the state enables you to do something. The state goes into the market, and the state enables everyone to be able to compete in the market, so that with fairness, with cutting down on monopolies, and forcing some companies to or preventing cartels and monopolies and so on. And this is something we have to understand in your private life and your private sphere, as well as the state guarantees your freedom. The state only intervenes in order to make sure that your freedom, that your personal freedom, that your safe space is not hampered with, is not tinkered with. And this means as well as that you as a human being have the right not only to do whatever you want, but it is as well as that your mind, and this is why it is so important. Freedom of speech, this is about your mind, the pursuit of happiness. This is about your mindset, how you think, that you are left alone, firstly by the state, and can develop freely, but as well as the state enables you to become an self-sufficient individual. And this may sound weird to some people, because everyone will say, or assumably will say, yes, so what? I mean, okay, the state should not guarantee or should not interfere in your life. Yeah, do do whatever you want. The state is not interfering in your life. Well, you are wrong. You are way wrong, especially what I saw in Austria. And in Austria, indeed, the state interferes in your life, and the state interferes in your life in an ideological term. This means if a political party is in power whatsoever, then they always are trying to influence people. For example, what is happening in Austria very often is that if a new political force gains power and so on, then they always separate people in friend and foe. So those friends, they are then somehow are being encouraged, and the foes, those which are being considered as enemies to the political movement, to the political party, then they are being really sometimes or discouraged, and this goes so far to really physically assaulted. I mean, this was indeed very dire and very dangerous and important of all. Those institutions like judicial system and police are being used. So, because no matter what you think, laws may be objective, but still human beings conduct these laws. Human beings act or act not according to these laws, and exactly here, the state needs to intervene and guarantee your freedom. So, and this is very important then. And this is not only in Austria, but as well as in other parts of a society as well, where really state organs, they do not abide by the law, and this is I think very, very important, because a state or people always crave for more power. This is what I saw in Austria. No matter what people say, no matter how people think that they are different whatsoever, they always crave for more power, and this was pretty much the case in Austria, for example, where really these people brought people of all kinds of surroundings. I mean, even worked together with psychopaths and so on, just to ensure one's own power. This is indeed very, very important, that you have to have a safe space from the state. However, and if we then come back to homosexuality, and this means actually that the state then has no right whatsoever to rule or dictate any sexuality, any belief what you might have, and so on. So this means the state in that sense has no right whatsoever to force or have a negate or stop homosexuals from pursuing their personal happiness. This is because this is an issue about individual freedom, and that's why it is so important to prevent the state from interfering in one's personal life. I mean, of course, you have to be very, very carefully. I mean, this is freedom, what is guaranteed to you by the Constitution normally. I mean, again, normally, this does not mean that it is in reality, and especially if you experience this from your own mind, or if you experience this how a state organs hunt you and so on, then you will understand that laws mean pretty much nothing, because everyone can avoid it, but as well as you need people to believe in these laws and so on. However, but this does not mean that the state can, for example, force any religious group or whatsoever to accept homosexuality, because this is way different. This is different in that sense that the state has to guarantee as well the freedom not only of an individual, but as well as of a religion, the freedom of religion. This is important, and this guarantee of religious freedom means that homosexuality has to be considered as equal or as normal within a religious group. I mean, this is very important, because in Austria some people thought that the state should force religious groups as well to accept homosexuality. No, this is something you cannot do. You cannot do this, because this trumps religious freedom. For example, you cannot force the Catholic Church to accept homosexuality, or you cannot force the Catholic Church to some sort of do away with this celibat and so on. This is nothing which, or this is where you have to draw the line. This is because, again, this is about ensuring your freedom, ensuring your free pursuit of belief, your religious freedom. I think this is indeed a very important point that we have to understand here, so that this is an issue about freedom. However, what I want to talk about now is a little bit of the LGBTQ community. But I mean, I think it would not make sense to talk about the psychological structure or the philosophical structure of it all, especially with, but we will a little bit talk about it. But this is some sort of a brief overview, and of course this is personal. Please note that I'm a straight man. I'm heterosexual, but I have had a transsexual older brother. He decided that he was born in the wrong body, and then he even went through procedure. He became a transsexual, but nevertheless, I mean, I have experienced some thoughts, and in the university I attended some seminars. I mean, I was always interested in this topic, despite the fact that I'm straight and heterosexual. I mean, I think the LGBTQ community, especially desire is very important for other for other considerations. I mean, this is what I want to talk about, and this is especially desire, not meaning homosexual or hetero, or not meaning homosexual desire, but desire in general. I mean, from a straight man's perspective, this would mean, why do I desire certain kinds of women? Why do I feel attracted to this woman, or what is up with it, and so on. I mean, this is a very important issue, and I think the LGBTQ community is some sort of opened up, so that you should not take it just for granted. I mean, this is indeed a very important issue, but nevertheless, I mean, this is all we have to talk about. Some issues in the LGBTQ community, which I have witnessed, which I have witnessed in the university, but as well as thoughts, but please note that they are partially personal. This is my personal thoughts, how I saw things. Nevertheless, I try to be fair and understanding, because this is what this is all about. We are not judging anyone. We try to understand, even though from a different perspective. I mean, you don't have to be a feminist to understand feminism, or let's put it that way, you don't have to be a woman to understand feminism. You don't have to be homosexual to understand the LGBTQ community. I mean, you always should strive to understand people's thinking, because this can really open up your mind, not only about a certain community but as well as in general. I mean, we have to start with what is homosexuality, and this is pretty much straightforward, and this is that homosexuality is attracted by the same sex. So this means, and desire plays a crucial role in the identity. This means because there are a lot of categories nowadays which starting from asexual and so on. I mean, I don't know what is supposed to be asexual and whatsoever. However, you have to be attracted to the same sex. You have to have this desire in order to be considered homosexual. And this desire is indeed physical. This is something we have to understand as well, because homosexual desire, it is the body. It is nothing beyond that. It is because it lies in the definition. It is the body, the same sex, and so on. I mean, I want to leave out transsexualism for that sense, but in a way, I mean, homosexuality, you stay in relationship to others through your body, through the desire of your body. This is it. This is the fact. And of course, with this come a lot of problems and of thoughts and issues. I mean, this is of course, you have to be aware that then some sort of a fetish around the body some sort of revolves, and then you have to ask yourself, yeah, is love beyond, isn't love beyond the body? Don't get me wrong, this is not about some sort of chiding homosexuality. Many heterosexual men or women think the same. You have to be mature in order to go beyond the physical appearance. However, I mean, the big question then is homosexual desire different in a way? I mean, it is indeed, because it is the same sex, which is significant, or but is there something beyond that? So is once this physical is overcome, is it the same as heterosexual love? I mean, we will talk about this later, but nevertheless, what you see in homosexuality is this. It is this obsession, this fetish, and this fetish is through this coitus. This means the penetration. This is very important, so that and it is a part of the identity. And and this is, we have statistics that homosexual partners or homosexuals have a lot of sexual partners. This is the number is way above the average person. So because this and this is known, this is fact. So in homosexual communities, I mean, there were even some research and so on. But however, in homosexual communities, there is this fetish and centrality, or the coitus is central to not only in the identity, but as well as in the perception, in the relation to each other. This is again, this does not mean that heterosexual couples are different. I mean, if you are a straight man or boy like me in the puberty, I mean, of course, all I did in my puberty was thinking about women. However, so this is not different. But again, you have to be aware, and this is an issue because homosexuality pretty much fixates on one aspect, and this is the body. And how can you then define things like friendship and so on? So is the relationship, does a homosexual, if he stops desiring someone else homosexually, is he then not homosexual, and so on. I mean, of course, these are all philosophical questions and so on. But another issue is, this is what I saw in Germany and Austria, is that the homo or the LGBTQ community is rather against foreigners. I mean, I don't assume, I mean, I talked about this, I don't assume and saw that Catholics or Protestants, in a way, those who really are religious, that they would be open to homosexuality. However, many homosexuals think that migrants would be the real cause why they cannot some sort of live in freedom. I mean, if you only consider in Austria the Conservative Party, which is mostly supported by stout Catholics, that they were and are always against the same-sex marriage. So I don't quite understand why this has to be migrants. But however, I mean, this is as well as within German feminism. I mean, the German feminism has developed a little bit different because of the Third Reich, because of the influences of the Nazi emancipation, and the Nazis, they pretty much some sort of opened up sexuality long before this sexual revolution. It was rather of beauty, of race hygiene, and so on. And one thing what you have to consider in the homosexuality as well is that this, especially at migrants, this is what I experienced. I mean, one reason was, of course, because my older brother was a transsexual, but I narrowly escaped rape attempts by homosexuals. I mean, these people followed me and so on. But in general, I witnessed and noticed that migrants are some sort of a trophy within the LGBTQ community, like in the heterosexual community as well. And I saw that they have this same paradigm like in male culturalism, so that other cultures are considered as inferior, and that this white superior culture then would help those poor migrant boys and girls, or men and women, to come out as homosexuals and even save them. So there is some sort, again, this cultural aspect, this subordination which you can find in male culturalism, what we talked about. You can find this in the LGBTQ community as well. So they do not stand above anything of them. And another thing, of course, is that the LGBTQ community, that this is mostly about exposing oneself. This is not a bad thing. If you are proud about yourself, then you should expose yourself, or in a way, or show it. I don't want to use the word expose. However, nevertheless, most of those peoples are white and from the middle class, and again, the financial factor plays a crucial role. And this means if you are financially secure, you can or it is easier without any or the impact is mitigated because of your sexual or because of your financial security. If you come from a wealthy background, it is easier to out oneself, whereas if you come from a poor background, you have to work with a lot of uneducated and not understanding people, and this means that you rather will keep things to you. So you have to be more careful. And you could then somehow say this LGBTQ community, I mean, it is revolves rather about the rights of white people. This is what you saw. This is what I saw in the university. This is what I perceived, and this is again, this they became as well as a cultural factor, and and especially in Germany and Austria, this is indeed against migrants. However, this was my episode for today. This was Adam Kebas from Ordu. I hope you all are doing fine on this July day, and that you take care of yourself.
It's finally time to start firing up the grill. From city to shore, Acme is everything you need to prep for this summer season. Download the Acme app to shop for this season's essentials any way you want. Open the Acme app, clip your deals, then order your items online. An experienced Acme associate will carefully select your groceries, bag your order, and bring it right to your car or deliver right to your door. Download the app or visit acmemarkets.com for program details.